Good evening. It's Graham Healy, and I'm on the site of healyslowerbackpain.com, but it's the longevity and anti-aging page. Now, the reason why I've gone on that tonight in particular is that I've put out a video and I've put out a PDF file on losing 6 kilos of body fat in 6 weeks using the ketosis diet or the ketone diet, along with keeping the carbs extremely low and keeping the good fats high. Now, just briefly go through that while I'm talking to you here actually. So number one, we use good fats. When I say good fats, I mean hemp oil fats, for instance, or Udo's oil, which we have down here on this page. And the carbohydrates we keep probably between 50 and 100 grams a day. And those fats that I said, the good fats, we've got them up around about 60 grams a day, or that's about 6 dessert spoons of hemp oil, anywhere between 3 to 6. And the protein, whether you get your protein from pea protein, which I'm using, it's a vegan protein by Vital Greens, pea and hemp protein. One protein drink on, say, oat milk is around about 20 to 30 grams of protein. And so you can keep your protein levels up that way. And so the protein levels will equal the good fat levels. And the name of the game is to reduce sugars to 0. I'm talking white sugar, any foods that contain refined sugars, you eliminate them. But that becomes a little bit of a difficulty for a lot of people because they don't know the full picture. So you have people say to me, for instance, oh look, well, I've tried the the ketone diet and I couldn't handle it because I couldn't keep my carbs low. And then I ask them, well, what level of fats did you have? They can't answer you. So it's very important that the body, you don't feel hungry basically when you're having fats. The trouble is that people are eating mainly animal fats, and that is a little bit of a disaster on such that anything that's, say, done with the animal in particular, and I'm not having anti-beef or anything, just because I've myself and my other half have gone on vegan diets basically, except for me, I still have range-fed eggs. But the negativity or the downside of, say, eating animal products is you don't know what hormones they're pumping into them. Say, for instance, chickens. They grow chickens these days in about 4 or 5 weeks. Goes from a chick into this huge-looking, almost steroid-induced animal. And then when you consume that, and most people consume the fats on that animal, everything that's injected into them gets transferred straight to your fat cells. So the rule you've got to remember for eating any fats is that the fats, they don't metabolize much, they get straight stored. So you have your carbohydrates enter the system, carbohydrates like rice and potatoes and some breads. Bread's not a really good product. Well, it depends what bread it is, but usually the white refined breads, like eating glue. I remember at school we used to use flour and water and a bit of Dettol for glue. So, the gluten and all this sort of stuff. So, basically, the key to be able to maintain a ketosis style of diet is that you've got to lift those fats up high, but not animal fats, the plant-based fats such as Udo's oil, which is a brand we've got down here from Dr. Udo, who actually wrote the book Good Fats, Bad Fats back in the 70s or 80s, I think it was, when everyone else was saying all fats are bad for you. Well, it depends what fat it is. So just remember this. Number one, fats get straight stored. And if it's a polyunsaturated fat, such as hemp seed oil, such as flaxseed oil, and such as seed oils from seeds, they are, by being polyunsaturated, just to keep it simple, fats, like here's a, pretend this is a fat, there's the head of the fat there. They've got two tails, right? It's positive, and it's positive on the head, negative on the tails. Now a saturated fat or an animal fat is like that. And then when you put them all together, the fats actually form cell walls. So your cell wall winds up all saturated, right? The polyunsaturated fats, or the plant-based fats, because they're polyunsaturated, they're like that. You see, if I'm trying to illustrate that to you. So when they join together, they're actually open-ended, right? So you can go into the chemistry of that. I've got 6 years, I've studied med science for 6 years, and on that point, I'll bring you over to here. We'll go onto the website where I have my other associates. There's me. There's my a good friend, Dr. Matt Bambling. I've got all his qualifications there. He's also a research scientist, and he's a biochemist, and one of the best ones in Australia. So we discuss a lot of the people's theories out there. We actually discuss them in depth, and I'm dealing with long-term associates that actually know what they're talking about. Okay, now the other chap here is Rodney Campbell. Rodney Campbell's probably one of Australia's best-known naturopaths. He was the head naturopath for Musashi Sports Products, and he's a great mate of mine, and we've worked together when I had my gym. We worked together on solving people's problems, health problems, and Rodney is just an absolute encyclopedia of information and a good mate of mine. Then I've put Ivor Cummings here. Now you can have a look at Ivor Cummings. Is basically, I think he's an engineer by trade, but he is an excellent analyst of medical data and diet data and all that. He's got his own story here, and when you go through this particular page, the Healy'sLowerBackPain.com longevity and anti-aging page, you will see I've carefully constructed this page to give you all the information. See, a lot of people, they go on these silly diets. When I say silly diets, they go on a bit of a diet, or they go on what someone tells them, or they go on a fad diet. Now, what I'm trying to show you here is when you go on a ketosis diet, what happens then, as I've just explained in the opening part of this video, is that you increase your good fats. I'm not talking animal fats, I'm talking hemp oil or flax oil, or a combination of hemp oil and flax oil is what I take, considerably. And then your protein, sure, you can have whey protein, good quality, like we use the Urban Muscle protein drinks. And I also thoroughly recommend Vital Greens protein, hemp and pea protein drink. Tastes great, and I use that on oat milk. Right, I've dropped the dairy. The reason is I'm not against dairy farmers or whatever. I'm not making anything here political. I'm doing that because the body, when you have dairy products, the body seems to store the fat a lot easier. And there's a few doctors that have gone through the theory on that, interfering with the insulin storage and all that sort of stuff. All I can tell you is from experience, and I've been in basically a health and fitness fanatic for most of my life, and a professional athlete and what have you. And I've done, for those who don't know, I've done 6 years med science, diplomas in sports coaching. I'm an 8th Master in Martial Arts, and I'm a qualified TAF teacher. So, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So, and I used to have a gym with over 2,000 members, and I was the Body for Life coach for Queensland from about 2000 to 2005, I think it was. So, done all those transformational challenges for people, and at the end of the day, most people that I have been involved with, as far as clients, they get a little bit of information from someone, and then they only follow a little bit of the advice. They don't have the whole picture put together. So what I'm trying to do on this page is put the whole picture together for you so you can understand it from A to B. Now, when you go through this page, it's got the full education. Everything you need to know is on this page, actually. And if you don't understand anything, just flick me an email or book an appointment, and we can have a little Zoom session or something. No charge at all. I'm just about getting people fit and healthy. Okay, so we've got Ivor Cummins. And just go through his videos, because he has got an amazing story about when he had calcium build up in his arteries. Now, I had a similar thing, not because I wasn't fit, not because I wasn't eating healthily and all this sort of stuff, but I had a symptom that my mother's got of hypothyroidism. So the thyroid produces T3, T4, which is primarily and is responsible for your metabolism. So T3, T4 actually facilitates the burning of body fat, when you need it and all this sort of thing. So the thyroid, gets out of whack, and what happens is that the production of calcium in the bloodstream doesn't go back to the where it should, into the cells, and it gets stacked into the arteries. And so that happened to me as well. So I had to go on a very strict ketone diet under the advice of my good friend Dr. Matt Bambling, and I stripped off about 25k of body fat. And I wasn't unfit anyhow, but I just noticed I was sort of slowing down a bit, which is unusual for me, being an athlete all my life. So when you go through this, I suggest that you look at some of the videos, like What's the Bottom Line, etc. We recommend metformin. Let me start the process. With anything, you've just got to go to your GP and get a blood test, and then get a copy of it, right? So the blood test actually indicates and makes certain you get the test for guys, the testosterone levels and what have you, and it will detect if you've got shortages somewhere. So the starting point is always get a blood test. The GP is not necessarily a expert in diets and all this sort of thing. They're just a general practitioner, but they are authorised to write out a script for a blood test. So that's what we advise you to get a copy of it. We can have a look at it and make some suggestions, and I'll just put the little caveat here: this is not medical advice. We're just showing you what we've done, and we do have medical qualifications as far as medical science is concerned. So it's not just us talking theory, we actually put it into practice. Dr. Matt is a well-conditioned athlete, has trained in the gym most of his life, done martial arts, and I believe Rodney is a similar sort of character. And okay, so when you want to go through this page very carefully, what I've done is pulled it all together so you can understand how ketosis work, how metformin works. Metformin and berberine here is the natural, well, why not say natural, but it's another product that works basically like metformin. Metformin is the best way to describe metformin without getting too complicated about it is you put an additive into your car for spark plug cleaning. and it makes the carb run a lot smoother and more efficient, burns fuel and more efficient. Well, that's what metformin does. Originally, it was manufactured from the bark of the lilac tree in France, and I think they do it in the lab now, but berberine is a similar type of product, a natural product that you can get through the online with iHerb and that, you know, in your health food store and all that. Has a similar effect to metformin, both of them very similar, and they have the process of increasing the efficiency of the metabolism of your cells. So on a cellular level, there's a whole lot of science that goes behind that, but take our word for it, metformin really works, and we do have the research data there to prove it, and also we've used it ourselves, so, you know. And here's Dr. Udo, and his book Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. I suggest you get that book and read it. It's quite technical actually, but you know, the average person can read that. And this is his products. I do recommend Udo's oil. It's a combination, like a blend. He's got their 369, the omega 369, the different combinations of the polyunsaturated fats, and he's got the flaxseed and the I don't think he's got hemp oil in that, but he does have sunflower oil. And anyway, you'd have to have a look at the breakdown there. And then I've got here's what's normal blood pressures and what have you, so that you can get an idea of blood pressure. Saturated fats versus unsaturated fats, that little story I told you about unsaturated versus saturated, there it is on this video here. How the cell membrane works, and I've got one of my associates that does this.
Armando Hasudugan, biology and medicine videos.
Yeah, so Amanda Hasudan. He's got a Middle Eastern name, very hard to pronounce, but Dr. Hamanda. Now he does drawings on. Just show one here. That's his biology drawings. He's absolutely brilliant if you want to understand anatomy and physiology. So he's doing the intracellular and how glycoproteins work and all this sort of stuff. So I've got a lot of his material, and please subscribe to, if you're interested in medical explanations of cellular metabolism and all this sort of stuff, please subscribe to Dr. Huminga's YouTube channel. You can get it there on the website. Now, regarding, I've got information on L-acetyl-L-carnitine, the amino acids and all that. So there's the proper data. There's calcium scores explained, which tests for calcium build-up in the arteries. Here's, you know, various suggestions that I've got, like, you know, the protein drinks I suggest. All you can download any of those. 3 teaspoons of Edo's oils. I've updated some of those, but they're still valid. If you're vegan, like myself and my other half are these days, you just exchange the whey protein for the Vital Greens hemp and pea protein. So, you know, just a simple exchange. You can change the skim milk to oat milk, etc., etc. So when you have a look at, you know, how, you know, there's the immune system, like, you know, the last 3 years I've had all the what I call the scamdemic, and you have a look there and see how the immune system actually works, and it's all done in diagrams. And the ketone, how ketones work, the ketones actually burn fat rather than carbohydrates, so that is why. And when you're doing a ketosis type diet, you've got to drop the carbs really down low, otherwise the body will keep using carbs, and anything that's excessive carbs it stores as fat. So, you know, you've got to trick the body in this particular situation. So as we go through here, I've got again Dr. Aminga's key videos that we've done, ketones and the body synthesis synthesis. I always have trouble pronouncing that. Ketones version 2, the cellular respiration, cell membrane, saturated, unsaturated, and polyunsaturated, inflammation that occurs in the body, the overview of the immune system, the overview of insulin and glycogen, focus on the insulin function, focus on the glycogen and ketones, the fasted state. Now, you listen to that about the fasted state, and the idea with ketosis is to put the body into intermittent fasting. Now, I say to people, after you break things down, you wind up on 1 meal a day. Now, the Indian gurus do that. When I was boxing, and I was a competitive boxer as well, I tell you, the fitter you got, the less you ate. The more unfit people eat a lot, right? So, 1 meal a day, you think, oh God, how am I going to handle that? Well, how you handle it is that, like for instance today, I had a vegan patty with applesauce on it and some pineapple, and then I had a salad with that, right? That was my main meal for the day. But how do you stop feeling hungry in that? It's increase the fats, such as Pix, in particular Pix peanut butter, or crunchy peanut butter. That's a great way of stopping yourself from feeling hungry, because you've got plenty of oleic oil in it, and that's provided you're not allergic to peanuts, of course. And then the other thing is, energy-wise and all that, or to keep the sugars down low, I thoroughly recommend Remedies kombucha. Now, kombucha's got 0 sugar in it, well, Remedies has, and the other ones, some of the other ones, have got a little bit of sugar, nothing much. So Remedy, even when I work a property as well, I do a lot of different things, and I work on a property, for about 3 hours a day, and I take kombucha up there so that I'm not consuming sugar. Because once you start consuming sugar, I notice in my own body I bloat immediately, and then I store. But when I'm not consuming sugar, I start to lose body fat. Well, keeping the carbs down too. So that's what I'm trying to guide you to do. Now, the other thing, when you're in a fasted state, see, ketosis is a fasted state. So what I do, as an example, is I just have an oat chai latte in the morning, no sugar or anything, and then I head off to the property, do a bit of work up there. But on the property I've got water, and I've got 750 ml of various flavoured kombucha, which is no sugar, and it's got all the the good stuff in there, the probiotics, 250 million of them floating around there. It's good for the gut health and tastes great. So basically, from first thing in the morning till about lunchtime, I'm not eating anything, and if my energy drops out, I have some Vital Greens. They put out, it's like a general Vital Greens formula with 78 nutrients. So I have a little bit of that, maybe a heaped teaspoon, and it hits the energy again. So I'm not going short of nutrients, and I can explain that in more detail if you contact me, or there'll be a PDF file for you to look at as well. Now, when you see this video down here, autophagy, death and cleaning out of the cells, this is critically important. When you're in the fasted state, the body cleans out the system. So, I remember back in the 70s and 80s, when I saw what I call real naturopaths. They just look so damn healthy. I mean, I remember when I was associating with and selling Masashi sports products, I remember seeing their head naturopath, which was Rodney Campbell, but I was in Queensland, so I saw their naturopaths here in Queensland. That was down the Gold Coast, and I remember walking in to see them, and this guy turned around, and it was like suddenly you just seen this bright light, and he was a head naturopath, obviously practicing what he preached. So if someone is living healthily and they're applying all this, what we're talking about on this page, they should look at, right? And I'm not bothered, I won't tell you what my age is. I don't tell anyone anymore. I'll just let them guess. So what I've noticed is when I do what I'm telling you to do here and what's written, the education that's on this page, you will be in the healthiest state that you've ever been in your life, right? I'll summarise this as I finish up. So yeah, you go through here and yeah, you want to take action today and all the rest of it, book a 30-minute consultation or have a bit of a chat. Download a free diet diary there. Alan Borishek I recommend, Dr. Borishek, who's one of Australia's foremost dietitians. His little books are great, and you can get his downloadable app on your phone as well. Graham's high protein, high fats and low carb protein drink. We've also modified that with the pea and hemp protein. A little bit of a high protein. I think I did these probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. Lose 6 kilos of body weight in 6 weeks. That's the latest one I did, so you can download that absolutely free. And our mission here is to help as many people as we can, one at a time, to reach optimum health and longevity by providing an undergirding service rooted in natural medications or medicines, herbs and supplements, and holistic exercise systems that have been scientifically proven over time to increase cellular life and reduce inflammation and the negative side effects of the human body, encompassing mind, body and spirit. So the vision is seeing individuals we treat restored to a youthful, productive long life and happiness and a balanced state of mind. Now, if we're not doing that ourselves, myself and Dr. Matt and Rodney Campbell, how can, we can only teach people what we're doing ourselves. So, as you see this, we've got the practical steps, and we treat people like a family, not a number. You go to after doing the 6 years of med science at university, I remember myself and my best mate at uni, Jim, who's actually, I think he's almost a qualified chiropractor now, where I did all the study, but I've decided that I'll stay with the dry needling and the acupuncture side of things, and I call it Healy's musculoskeletal. But when we first started, I remember the lecturers at the university asked us why we were doing the particular med science degree, and Jim put up his hand and he said, I want to help people. And I put up my hand. I said, well, I've done everything else, and I wanted to be basically a manual health practitioner, i.e. a chiropractor or a musculoskeletal practitioner, right from an early age. And I said I want to help people relieve pain and do it in a holistic way, and that's how I've got on over the years with different sports injuries. I've gone to the holistic practitioners, including I've had a couple of very good chiropractors. That's why I did the med science degree in chiropractic. And then most of the others put their hand up and said, because we want to earn money. We want to make big money. And I looked at Jim, and Jim looked at me. And I said, these guys are here for the wrong reason. Accordingly, I took 6 years because I went through an election and a few things like that. But I was a Senate candidate for the Queensland federal election in 2019. Took up a bit of my time there. Had to repeat a few subjects. But at the end of the day, the motivation for what myself and Jim were doing, and for that matter, Rodney Campbell and Dr. Matt, it's not about money. We're not money orientated. I'm not money orientated, actually. It's about getting results for people. And in the perspective of that class I was telling you about, where everyone put up their hand, we want to make money and all the rest of it, 70% of that class dropped out in the first 12 months. And that factor continued the whole time I was at university. So those people who were there for the wrong reasons, in other words, they weren't there to heal people, they weren't there to help people, they weren't there to make people's life better, They were there to make money. Well, if they wanted that, they should have went to become stockbrokers, bankers, or real estate agents if they want to make money. So I believe that people will pay for your services if you can prove that you can help them. So that's Graham Healy over and out. I hope this helps this particular page. Remember to go to, I'll just go up the back at the top of the page. You get a lot of information on this page, a lot of information in all my websites actually. So you go to Healy's Muscular, let's draw this down a little bit, Healy's Musculoskeletal Therapy, and you go to Healy's lowerbackpain.com, longevity and anti-aging. And you can also, while I'm here, we're going to have a look at this, you can go to my dry needling page. There's all my qualifications. I do all the holistic stuff, so I do the dry needling, I do there's some acupuncture involved in that, although it's primarily dry needling. Also, I've done the studies with Dr. Vizenak in Canada, which I use his instrument-assisted massage tools, and a lot of his principles I use as well. He's a great guy, one of the global experts in manual therapy. So that's the little one on dry needling, and that you can have a look at that and anything else you see on healyslowerbackpain.com. Okay, that's Graham Healy over and out. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.